columns. The easiest way to make a column, right, is I go to the structure tab. It's going to open up my structure ribbon. Right, and we can see all the things. So these are detailing elements here under reinforcement. I can make foundation walls and slabs. I can make beams, foundation walls, columns, floor, structural floors. You can make that also through the architecture tab. And then trusses, braces, and beams. So we'll talk more so along the beams, trusses, braces, and beam systems today, more than anything. And then if you needed to find where to place a grid in a level, if you can't remember what I say, GR for grid, LL for level, you can find that also under the datum area of the structure ribbon. All right, so I want to just place a column, right? So I click on the column button, and then I can do slanted columns or vertical columns, doesn't matter. If I look at the properties, right, I have a set of, I have a preloaded set. So I have a W250 by 49.1, so it's still in metric and all that stuff. So let's load in some different columns, right, so we can get acclimated to what Revit gives us out of the library. What's really nice is Revit gives us a pretty robust set of geometry in terms of structure. So I'll go ahead and insert, and I'm going to load family. Then if I go down to structural columns, right, I can load in all these. I'm going to do steel for now. So then I have basically everything you see in a steel manual is going to be here, right? It's got a lot of them. It's been years since I've had to look back and find something that I didn't have. All right, so I'm going to pick this MWWF welded wide flange column. I'll click on open. And when I open that up, so everything you see in the steel manual, we've all gone through the steel manual in here? Who has it? Yes? All right, so basically that's like a type catalog, that steel manual. So they've taken the steel manual and put this into a text file. So everything that you see inside that steel manual is available to you in this Revit type catalog. It's pretty awesome. I have my own digital steel manual with Revit out of the box, which is pretty cool to me. So I'm just going to pick, and I can load all these in. If you load all of them in, they're going to be all in your project, and it's going to slow your project down. So I'll just do maybe the first 5 or something, doesn't matter. And then I load them in. All right, now when I go to place my column, so I'll go to my structure column. Now I should see those other families in my column set. So let's pick a cool number, 350 by 155. Right, now some things to note are I can just do one at a time, right? So I can place 1, 2, 3, 4. It says none of the created elements are visible in floor plan level 1. Well, there's some things happening there, right? So I want to say that in my options bar, I'm going to do it as my unconnected height. I'm going to start at level 1, and it's going to say top constraint is invalid for the level. So I want it to actually go up to level 2, and that's invalid. So we'll just take a look at why we're not seeing this. So let's go to 3D. So I do see them in 3D. Let's go to elevation and see what's happening here. So they're actually being loaded. So when you load a column, right, on the way columns work in Revit, or especially on the structured side, is really kind of weird. And it ends up throwing off our architectural drawings. I'm dealing with this with somebody else where we can't get it to work. Now, architects think I'm going to put a column on level 1. That column is going to go up to level 2. I'm guilty of it right now. Right? But when a structural engineer thinks of a column, he thinks of what level is that column going up to, and he's thinking of it backwards. Right? So I need to look at the properties of this column. Right? So I'll go to properties, and you'll see that my base offset, it's always drawn in a negative fashion, right? So I want to make sure my top level is now level 2, and it'll draw that up. But I still have this base offset, so I'll select all of my columns and say that they're at 0 feet. Well, at least all their their top levels are all at level 2, and that my base offset's at 0 feet, right? So that'll get them to where the architect thinks. Okay. Now some other things happening when structural engineers do drawings, their stuff is in a line, right? And then they spec off what the sizing of that is, right? So that's why we see just a line with this. If I turn on my coarse, medium, and fine view, it's going to show me the actual architectural column itself. So that's shown by course is just the line for the engineering drawings. Fine view is going to be for the architect style of drawings, right? And then I can take this column again, and since it's constrained, I can copy it up wherever I want. Now, you'll see when I'm copying only on that level. So I need to unconstrain on my copy, and then I can go vertical with it, right? All right, so that's just placing a column arbitrarily. Now, some other things that I can do, since we laid out this beautiful grid, the land of Mies and grids, right, is I want to place columns at every one of my grid intersections, because that's the purpose of the grid, right? So I'll type, I'll go back to my column command, and then I have this at grids button. And I'm just going to say I'm going to select all my grids, check, and it's going to say none of the elements are created. Again, we know why that is. But now they're constrained to the intersections of my column grids. And if I go to my 3D view, I should see that now. So the last part would be going back to my elevation and saying that these go up to, I'll take the properties and do the same thing I did prior. These go up to level 2, and they have a 0-foot offset. Okay? So now what's nice is if I move my grid line, it's going to move all my columns with it. So that's the benefit of really thinking about the grid, okay? Now let's go back to, and in this case now I'm going to be working, since everything is reverse, if I want to draw something at level 2, I really need to open up level, I need to open up level 2. I think that'll work. Even I have trouble kind of configuring this, so I want to start placing beams at every one of these intersections, right? So we'll have our beam systems or stick frame kind of for a building. Yes?
Is there a way to, like, once you set the columns into the grid, if you move the grid, then the columns move into the grid. But is there a way where you can unattach that in case?
Yeah, if you want to unattach it, so I'll go back to level 1. And again, I'll turn on Find View so I can see my objects. So I want to detach that. I just drag it off. Once I drag it off, it's no longer part of that grid. Okay? Yeah, so that connectivity is really just at face value. The minute you move it off, you lose it. Again, why the purpose of the grid, right, is for construction documents. So to move it off the grid, you would actually, if let's say I had a condition where I needed another column. Structural engineer says, whoops, you got a heavy load coming in right there. You need another column right in the middle to pick up that load. I would do a one-off grid here, right? And then that would be called a double letter. So if I'm at BB, between B and C, I would actually then call that BB, right? And then I would place another column right there. So that's standards. That's just standards across the board. So that's why I always just do it this way. You don't want to make the engineer mad. They're your best friends. They make all your crazy stuff buildable.